Welcome to Shad Life. Well, I got the notification that my new Silverado EV is ready to go. They put a tonneau cover on it and did bed liner and did all the detailing and all that stuff. So I'm gonna go pick it up, but rather than do like a Lyft or Uber or something like that, or even get a courtesy ride from the dealership because that's available, I really want to ride myself to Fargo, and it's about a 15-16 mile ride, so not too terrible. And so I decided I'm gonna kind of kill two birds with one stone and ride this bike and talk a little bit about it, because I promised I would do that. So this is a perfect opportunity, and just talk about how it rides with the Berd Spoke wheels and things like that. I actually signed up for the Meesville 56, which is about a month from now, and I need to start riding. And this is the bike I'm gonna ride in the Meesville 56. And a lot of bicycle media coverage talking about how bigger wheels or tires, wider tires, are better for gravel, and that more and more riders are going that direction. And these are actually XC mountain bike tires, the race version, so they're super lightweight and they're on the lightweight Berd Spoke wheels. So I feel like this is going to be a great bike for 56 miles of gravel. For me, I just do it. It's about completing it. I'm not a racer. There's no way I'm ever going to be competitive racing in this day and age, and at this age, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But I still like to do those events. It's fun. Sometimes it's a full sufferfest if it's super windy. Last year it was kind of windy and then little rain droplets most of the time and a little chilly. So yeah, it's always an interesting event. And so today's a pretty nice day. It's like mid-50s, cloudy, but warm enough for me to just get out and start getting some miles on this bike. And when I get to the dealership, I'll show you the bed liner and tonneau cover on my new Silverado EV. Okay, so the ride to the dealership really isn't all that terrible. There's a couple of sketchy parts, but I'm prepared for that, if you know what I mean. But they're short, and it's mostly path. So we've got the path here around the lakes, then we have what's called the greenway, and then later on, I forget what the other one's called, Minneapolis something. It's another bikeway that sends me up north of the cities where the dealership is. So it shouldn't be a terrible ride. But I decided to put that wind slayer on my GoPro. So the sound quality should be a lot better. Shouldn't hear a whole bunch of wind blowing through the mics. So yeah, pretty decent day. So I want to talk about three different kind of categories during this ride. First one is kind of the fit and how this bike feels as far as like sitting on it and riding for a long distance. That'll be the first one. And then second one, I want to talk about how it feels riding, like ride quality wise and effort wise and so on. And then the third one, I want to talk about these tires because I'm riding on pavement. So I have a lot to say about these tires. So fit / comfort level. What I really like about the Fargo is it has a super high or super tall stack height. So that means the front end of the bike, the top of the head tube is higher in relationship to the bottom bracket than most other bikes in this category. So one way that I can tell if I'm going to be comfortable or not on a drop bar bike or a mountain bike, but you get these road racers or road riders, they like their front end really low. And then you get the XC mountain bike racers, they got their stems flipped upside down and they're all super low. And to me, that's just super uncomfortable. Might be the most performance way to ride, but not the most comfortable. So I look at the side profile of a bike, and then I will see if the seat is higher than the handlebars. If the seat's higher than the handlebars, I know it'll be less comfortable. If the handlebars are higher than the seat, it'll be more comfortable. And this bike definitely has the handlebars higher than the seat because of the higher stack height, which makes it a much more comfortable and definitely a bit more upright ride. But what I like is I'm on the hoods here. If I want to be more aero, I can always go down to the drops like this and tuck and get more aerodynamic. So I kind of like that I have both those options, like super comfortable for long distance, super aero for speed, and so on. So that's what makes this Fargo such a nice bike to ride, is it's just super comfortable fitting. I don't feel too hunched over. My weight's not too on my hands too much, you know. So if your seat's higher, your handlebars are lower, you're gonna lean forward and you have a lot more weight on your wrists and stuff. So yeah, it's just extremely comfortable, and I could just go for miles and miles and miles and not get like super sore, lower back pain, sore wrists, you know, things like that. So hands falling asleep, all that stuff is what happens when I'm leaned too far forward. So I stopped so I can show you what I'm talking about. The seat is lower than my handlebars, if you see that from here, and I'm trying to be as level as I can with the phone. So that makes this more comfortable. A lot of times you'll see bikes where the seat's higher and the handlebars are lower, and then you're more leaned over. So that makes a big difference to me. It also, the length does, and all those things, and your stem length. There's a lot of other factors, but that's a pretty big primary factor, because that point right there is the stack height. And if you look at how much of a sloping tube this is, you can see that the front of this bike is higher than what you would typically see on a drop bar bike. And yep, it's all about comfort and going a long distance. So to add to the comfort, you have a fit piece, but then you have like, how does the bike ride? And so this frame is steel, but it's like a high-end steel, like 40, 130 chromoly, butted tubing and all that. If you don't know what butted tubing is, it means it's thinner in the middle, thicker at the ends where it gets welded, and it also gives the frame a little more ride compliance feel and stuff. So it also has a carbon fork. Oh, I got an echo. And with the carbon fork, this steel frame, it just has really good ride compliance. Then you gotta add on to the fact that I have these Berd wheels, which also has some ride compliance in the spokes. So even over like bumpier surfaces, or like kind of chittery, whatever you want to call it, terrain, it doesn't really just reverberate through the frame and into your body. And the frame and the wheels absorb that, and so do the bigger tires. And I'm going to talk about the tires in a moment, but you know, all of that combined is on top of like kind of the riding position on this bike, just make it really comfortable. Like, it may not be the fastest bike, but it is definitely the most comfortable bike. And it's not slow by any means, it's still fast. if I want it to be. I'm riding pretty casual right now. Yeah, so just the ride quality of this is just amazing. It's one of the reasons why I've wanted a Fargo for probably the last 15 years or so, ever since they came out. But I just got one just a couple of years ago. This is it. And I've been stoked on it ever since. It's everything I've ever wanted it to be and more, as I gradually upgrade things on it. So this is the Greenway. Right now I'm just kind of cruising at between like 17 and 18 miles per hour, fairly effortlessly because of these tires. You'd think a big tire like this would be slow and cause a lot of drag and resistance, but I have these at 40 psi. They're 2.25 Vittoria Torino race tires, so XC race tires, but they have like a smooth, not perfectly smooth, but like this kind of scale down the middle of them that goes one direction, so it reduces the what am I trying to say? Reduces the riding resistance, but it still has some traction when you need it. So they're really nice tires, and at 40 psi they roll really good. You'd think 40 psi would be super soft and slow, but it's not. I'm on pavement and I feel like I kind of would feel on a road bike. Maybe not as fast, but and effortless, but pretty close. So I'm very curious to know how these tires work on gravel. I have a feeling they're going to be awesome. And then they do have some side knobs, so for cornering they'll have some good traction. So yeah, I really like them. And then you combine the bigger 2.25 tire with 40 psi with the more compliant wheels and the more compliant carbon fork and steel frame, and you just have an amazing feeling bike. So I'm about halfway, and it's been all bike trail, so that's pretty cool. And I have quite a bit of bike trail ahead of me before I get dumped into some streets, but I'm not on the streets for very long before I'm back on another bike trail. So that's pretty awesome. So this is the Sabo Bridge. This thing's cool. Been here for quite a while now, but I remember when it was first built, it was a nice way to get over this super busy road down there called Hiawatha, so you don't have to cross at the intersection with all the cars. So yeah, super nice addition to the trail system, and it looks cool. So now I'm off like the main bike path, but they have this built out, so you still have a bike trail. So I really only had like 6 blocks, most of it going through small neighborhoods, so that's not bad. And then I'll probably be on bike trail all the way if Google Maps is correct, all the way till I get like a few blocks from the dealership. That's pretty awesome. I didn't expect that this ride was going to be this good. So this is super cool. This is the bike trail I'm talking about, and then we got the Mississippi River going over that. That's another walkway, and there's no cars allowed on that bridge. Used to be an old railroad bridge. And then back over here downtown Minneapolis. It's funny because I'm at the angle where you can't even see the US Bank Stadium where the Vikings play or any of that. And oh yeah, the IDS, you can see it there. It's right next to that building, the old Northwest building, which I think Fargo owns now. So yeah, this is pretty cool. But it's kind of cool to cross the river. Awesome. Now we're in an area of Minneapolis called Southeast Minneapolis, and it's not too far from the U of M campus, which is over to my right, the other side of the railroad tracks. But this was actually an area where I grew up in my younger years. This is Van Cleve Park. I used to play soccer for the park here, city soccer, when I was younger. Pretty cool. And I lived up ahead and to the left, not too far. I'm actually gonna ride right by the house we used to live in when I was a kid. So yeah, that was through my elementary years. It was this area here. Yeah, we're going by the school I used to go to. There's a little makeshift skate park right there. That's cool. Yeah, used to be called Tuttle. I don't know what it's called now. Oh, it's Tuttle Community School. It wasn't a community school when I was there. It's Tuttle Elementary School. And then I lived up over here on the left. And while we're here, I'm gonna pull off because I gotta talk about this, just because I talk about the beginning of my BMX riding. So behind these houses, let's see if it's still there. Yeah, it is. Huh. Right up here, probably be able to see it. Yes, right between these houses here. You can see behind this house here, there's a little wooded area back there, and there we used to have a little oval dirt track back there. That was where I first started riding BMX. And when I found out that BMX was actually a sport, it's around 1978, 79. So if you've seen my Torker videos, wondering why I have 79 on the plate, that is why. And then over here, lived in that house, 1083, right there. Kind of little townhomes there. That's pretty cool. I wasn't really thinking about the fact that I was gonna ride right through this area, but yeah, that's awesome. So Minneapolis is one of the top rank bike cities in the US, and this is why, because it is very bikeable. That was interesting. Still got to be on your toes because people in cars do idiotic things all the time. Yeah, it is very bikeable, very enjoyable, and this I didn't even expect when I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna ride my bike to the dealership, but I just kind of expected that I was gonna have to deal with some really crappy, high congested areas dealing with car traffic, but I haven't at all so far. And it's been mostly dedicated bike trail, like 95%. So that is awesome. So now I'm back on just nice dedicated bike trail again, and I'm at the most northern part of Minneapolis. So I started out in like the southwest part of Minneapolis, and I end up probably just outside of Minneapolis in like the northeast corner. So did the whole city south to north with mostly dedicated bike trail. Super cool. Like, I've never done this route before, and I'm totally stoked on it. Wow, and this is the part where I thought I was gonna have to deal with like stroads and traffic, but no, I have this nice wide, you know, this is probably not this obviously isn't a dedicated bike lane, but bikes, pedestrians, all that. I'm actually in Roseville now, not in Minneapolis anymore, in the dealership. It's literally a left turn right up here and a couple blocks that way. Amazing. That's funny. All the way here, the dealership is right there, and the sidewalk just ended into the grass. So here's the short couple blocks, not even couple blocks, a block on this road. And it has kind of a shoulder, but you can't really ride over there because it's really sketchy. But yeah, here's the dealership. Time to go pick up my truck. That was a way more pleasant ride than I was expecting it to be. So cool. Alright, let's go check out my truck. There's all these EVs over here. Awesome. Okay, so here it is with the tonneau cover and the bike inside and bed liner. Nice. That is amazing. All right. That ride was so worth it. Time to get in, go home, and get some dinner. So yeah, the reason why I'm just like kind of speechless is that being able to ride my bike, it was about just under 15 miles to come pick this up on like that route was so fun, so good. Yeah, you can tell I love riding bike. The dealership even said, oh, we can give you a courtesy ride, we'll come pick you up. And I'm like, you don't understand, I actually like riding my bike. so yeah, that's what it was. So yeah, I'm ready to go home, get some dinner. Appreciate your support for my channel. Please like and subscribe.